Professor Zix 427 floated into the lecture hall of the Galactic Academy of Xenanthropology, their bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with anticipation. The final year students, representing 30 different species from across the galaxy, shifted nervously in their adapted seating units. Today was assignment day for their major research project, and everyone knew Professor Zix 427 had a reputation for challenging tasks. Your final assignment, the professor announced, their translator converting their harmonic vibrations into standard galactic speech, will determine whether you graduate from this prestigious academy. Each group will study one primitive spacefaring species. Excited whispers filled the room. Some students dreamed of studying the peaceful floaters of Nebula 7, while others hoped for the musical crystallines of the Diamond Belt. A few ambitious ones even wished for the chance to study the ancient void dancers. The professor's tentacles darkened slightly, a sign of amusement. To make this fair, we will use the random assignment cube. They pulled out a glowing geometric shape that began spinning in the air. At the back of the room, Villa, a crystalline being who sparkled under the room's soft light, nudged her project partner Mexer, a gaseous entity contained within a specialized environment suit. "I hope we get something easy," Villa whispered, her crystal structure vibrating with anticipation. The cube stopped spinning and projected a hologram. Professor Zix 427's tentacles suddenly went pale, a sign of concern that didn't go unnoticed by the class. Group 7, Vela and Mexer. The professor paused, their tentacles now almost white. "Your assigned species is humans of Earth." The reaction was immediate. 3 students in the front row activated their emergency shields. A plant-based student in the corner began rapidly shedding leaves in distress. Mexer's gaseous form turned a sickly shade of green within their containment suit. "Professor," Vela's crystalline voice chimed with worry, "isn't Earth classified as a Deathworld?" "Correct," Professor Zix 427 replied, bringing up a holographic display of Earth. "Class, pay attention. This is why Earth earned that classification." The hologram showed a planet that seemed designed to kill, massive bodies of corrosive dihydrogen monoxide covering most of the surface, extreme temperature variations that would shatter most species, atmospheric pressure that would crush many sentient beings, and gravity that would immobilize most galactic citizens. And yet, the professor continued, humans not only survived but thrived there. They evolved on this nightmare sphere, adapting to conditions that would be considered apocalyptic on most worlds. The hologram switched to showing various human activities. Several students emitted distress signals when they saw humans willingly submerging themselves in the corrosive dihydrogen monoxide. For entertainment, the Galactic Council quarantined Earth's solar system for a reason, Professor Zix 427 explained. Not to protect humans from us, but to protect us while we try to understand them. Your research must be conducted from a safe distance, using our observation satellites. Vela's crystalline structure trembled slightly. How did they survive such conditions? That, the professor's tentacles regained some color, is exactly what your research will help us understand. Remember, no direct contact. The last research team that tried ended up watching humans turn their observation equipment into something called a jungle gym for their young. As the class ended, Vela and Mexer stayed behind, staring at the hologram of Earth. Their impossible assignment suddenly felt like the most terrifying and fascinating challenge of their academic careers. They had to study a species that considered survival on a death world so normal that they turned deadly situations into entertainment. They didn't know it yet, but their research would change the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. Vela and Mexer huddled in their cloaked observation pod above the bustling University of California campus. Their advanced Galactic Academy technology should have made them completely invisible to the primitive humans below. Should have. Are you seeing this? Vela's crystalline form flickered with anxiety as she monitored their sensors. These readings can't be right. Mexer's gaseous form swirled nervously in their containment suit. What's wrong? According to this, someone down there is using quantum detection equipment. Vela adjusted their instruments, certain there must be an error. But that's impossible. Humans shouldn't have that technology yet. Below them, in the physics department's courtyard, Sarah Chen excitedly waved her homemade quantum detector in the air. The undergraduate student had built it for her senior project, mostly from parts she'd bought at Radio Shack and salvaged from old microwaves. She hadn't expected it to actually work. Professor Williams. Professor Williams. Sarah called out to her advisor, who was enjoying his lunch on a nearby bench. You need to see this. There's some kind of quantum anomaly right above us. Vela and Mexarcher watched in horror as a small crowd of physics students gathered around Sarah. Their cloaking device, designed to hide them from primitive detection methods, was being undone by a device made from Earth junk. We should leave, Mexer suggested, their gaseous form turning a pale shade of yellow with fear. Protocol clearly states. Before they could finish, a bright beam shot up from Sarah's detector, illuminating their pod's outline. The gathered crowd gasped, then broke into excited chatter. Oh no, Vela chimed in distress. This is exactly what Professor Zix 427 warned us about. Quick, activate the emergency. Too late. Sarah had already started climbing the nearby physics building's fire escape to get a better look, her quantum detector beeping faster with each step. Other students were pulling out their phones, taking pictures and videos. This is fascinating, they heard Professor Williams say. Sarah, can you get a reading on its energy signature? Everyone else, start documenting everything. This could be the discovery of the century. What happened next horrified the alien observers even more. Instead of running in terror from the unknown object above them, the humans began theorizing about how to replicate their cloaking technology. If we modify the quantum field generator, Sarah was already sketching something on her tablet. We could probably build something similar with the particle accelerator in the basement, another student added. And I bet we could power it with the solar panels on the roof, the third student chimed in. Vela and Mexarcher watched in stunned silence as the humans below them excitedly planned to recreate highly advanced alien technology with what seemed to be random parts from their primitive civilization. They're not afraid, Mexer observed, their gas form swirling in confusion. They're excited. Worse, Vela replied, her crystalline structure vibrating with disbelief. They think they can copy our technology with parts from something called Home Depot. The alien students hastily retreated to their safe observation distance, their research notes now including a new and terrifying observation. Humans don't just survive on their Deathworld. They see advanced alien technology as a fun weekend project. Later that evening, as Sarah Chen and her classmates excitedly worked on their reverse-engineered cloaking device Mark I in the physics lab, Vela and Mexer added an urgent note to their research report. Human ingenuity may be more terrifying than their physical capabilities. They view the impossible as a challenging puzzle rather than a limitation. They had no way of knowing that back in their dorm room, Sarah had already figured out the basic principles of their cloaking technology. She was just waiting for Home Depot to open in the morning. After their close call with the physics students, Vela and Mexer chose to observe what they believed would be a safer location, the university's sports complex. Their research indicated this was where humans engaged in organized physical activities. They expected to find simple exercises designed for basic survival skills. They were wrong. What are they doing? Mexer's gaseous form condensed in shock as they watched 10 humans sprint back and forth across a wooden floor, chasing a small orange sphere. According to the database, this is called basketball. Vela responded, her crystalline structure vibrating with each loud squeak of rubber shoes against the floor. It's classified as entertainment. Below them, the basketball game was getting intense. Two players collided while jumping for the ball, falling hard onto the court. Both immediately jumped up, laughing, and continued playing. They just damaged their external protection layers. Mexer exclaimed. Their soft tissues impacted a solid surface with enough force to cause bruising. Why are they showing their teeth? Is this some kind of pain ritual? Those are smiles, Vela corrected, checking their xenobiology guide. They're enjoying themselves. The game grew more physical. Players pushed against each other, fighting for position under the raised metal ring. Sweat poured down their faces as they ran, jumped, and crashed into each other. One player hit the floor so hard that both alien observers activated their emergency shields in sympathy. This can't be right. Mechzerzer swirled anxiously. Our instruments show their heart rates are at levels that would indicate extreme stress or danger on most worlds. Their core temperatures are elevated. They're losing water at an alarming rate, and they're doing this voluntarily. A timeout was called, and the players gathered around their coach. Vela and Mechzer expected the activity to end, given the obvious signs of physical distress. Instead, the humans drank water, wiped off their sweat, and eagerly returned to the court. I'm accessing more data about human sports, Vela announced, her crystal structure paling as she read. Mechzer, this isn't even considered an extreme activity. There are games called football and rugby that involve deliberate high-speed collisions, and something called marathon running where they just keep running for 26.2 miles. For what purpose? Mechzer asked, their gaseous form turning the sickly green. Fun. The game below reached its final minutes. The score was close, and the humans played with even more intensity. One player performed what the aliens later learned was called a slam dunk, launching his body high into the air and forcefully sending the ball through the metal ring. The crowd cheered. The alien observers trembled. We need to update our report, Vela said, her voice chiming with urgency. Humans don't just survive their Deathworld environment. They'd recreate survival scenarios for entertainment. They deliberately raise their heart rates, subject themselves to physical impacts, and push their bodies to exhaustion. As a game. Later that evening, as they compiled their notes, they discovered something even more terrifying. Children's sports. Young humans, still in their physical development phase, were encouraged to participate in these activities. Add this to the report. Mechzer suggested, their gas forms still unsettled. Humans begin training for physical endurance and impact resistance while still in their larval stage. They call it Little League. As they finished their day's observations, they watched a group of students organize an impromptu game of ultimate frisbee in the dark, using glow sticks for illumination. Remember when we thought observing the physics department was scary? Vela asked. At least they weren't deliberately throwing themselves at the ground. Mechzer replied, adding one final note to their report. Human recreational activities would qualify as extreme survival training on any other world. Vela and Mechzer decided to observe human eating habits in the university cafeteria, expecting to find a simple nutrition center. Instead, they discovered what they would later describe in their report as voluntary chemical warfare. Are those humans intentionally consuming capsaicin? Vela's crystalline structure vibrated in disbelief as she watched students eagerly eating spicy chicken wings. What's capsaicin? Mechzer asked, their gaseous form swirling in their containment suit. It's a chemical compound that causes pain, Vela explained, checking their scanners. On most worlds, it's classified as a defensive toxin. These humans are not only eating it, they're complaining that it's not potent enough. Below them, a student named Mike was dousing his wings with extra hot sauce, while his friends cheered him on. Bro, try this new Carolina Reaper sauce, his friend Tom said, pulling a small bottle from his backpack. It's literally the hottest in the world. The alien observers watched in horror as Mike enthusiastically added the dangerous substance to his food and took a big bite. His face turned red, tears streamed down his cheeks, and he started coughing, all signs of severe distress. Yet he was smiling. Water won't help, dude, Tom laughed, sliding him a carton of white liquid instead. Drink milk. Vela quickly scanned their database. They used secretions from other Earth creatures to counteract the chemical burns they voluntarily inflict on themselves. This makes no logical sense. But their shock over the capsaicin consumption was nothing compared to what they observed next. Their sensors detected a dark liquid being consumed in massive quantities throughout the cafeteria. "What is that brown substance?" Mexer asked, focusing their sensors on a student chugging an energy drink. "Database identifies it as caffeine mixed with high levels of sugar," Vela responded, her crystal structure paling. "It's a stimulant that humans use to force their bodies to stay active beyond normal limits. And that's their third cup this hour." They watched as students consumed various substances that would be considered dangerous or lethal on other worlds. Carbonated beverages that would dissolve most species' digestive systems, acidic fruit juices that could corrode standard metal, and various fermented products that would knock out most galactic citizens. The biggest surprise came when they scanned an evening gathering at the student center. "Are they consuming ethanol?" Mexer's gaseous form turned almost white with shock. "Voluntarily. Apparently, they call it happy hour," Vela replied, reviewing their data. "They intentionally ingest a toxic substance that impairs their cognitive functions, affects their balance, and can cause severe discomfort the next day, for recreation." Later that evening, as they prepared their report for Professor Zix 427, they struggled to explain how humans had not only survived their toxic-filled world, but had actually learned to enjoy substances that would be considered weapons on other planets. "Add this to the report," Vela suggested, still shaken by their observations. "Humans have developed such a high tolerance to toxic substances that they actively seek stronger versions for entertainment. They have competitions to determine who can consume the most dangerous levels of capsaicin." "Don't forget to mention their caffeine dependency," Mexer added. "According to our calculations, the average university student consumes enough stimulants daily to power a small spacecraft." Their final note for the day read, "Human digestive capabilities suggest their species evolved to survive chemical warfare. Instead of avoiding toxic substances, they have turned them into beverages and condiments. Most terrifying of all, they deliberately breed plants to be more toxic for their own amusement." In the cafeteria below, Mike had finally recovered from the hot sauce challenge and was already asking Tom if he had anything spicier. The weather alert blared across Vela and Mexer's observation pod, warning of an approaching severe storm system. They quickly checked their emergency protocols, expecting to see humans rushing to their designated survival shelters. According to Earth weather data, wind speeds will exceed 50 miles per hour, with heavy precipitation and possible electrical discharges, Vela reported, her crystalline structure flickering anxiously. Surely now we'll see their emergency response procedures. Below them, students walked across campus, seemingly unbothered by the darkening sky and dropping atmospheric pressure. Why aren't they seeking shelter? Mexer's gaseous form swirled in confusion. Their protective coverings are completely inadequate for these conditions. They watched in disbelief as students simply opened small portable shields, umbrellas, according to their database, and continued their normal activities. Some didn't even bother with that much protection, just pulling hood-like fabric over their heads. The storm hit with full force. Rain poured down, wind howled through the campus buildings, and lightning flashed across the sky. The alien observers activated all their emergency shields, certain they were about to witness a disaster. Instead, they saw something even more terrifying: enthusiasm. "Dude, this storm is awesome," a student yelled, jumping into a large puddle of water that had formed near the library. His friends laughed and joined him, deliberately getting themselves wet. "Look at these readings," Vela chimed in distress. "The temperature has dropped 15 degrees. They're completely soaked into hydrogen monoxide, and there's lightning striking less than a mile away. Why are they celebrating?" Their confusion deepened when they detected a group of humans getting into a vehicle. "Where are they going?" Mexer asked, adjusting their sensors to follow the car. "According to their communication devices, they're going to chase the storm," Vela replied, her crystal structure nearly transparent with shock. "They're deliberately pursuing the severe weather conditions. They monitored local broadcasts and discovered an entire network of humans who followed dangerous weather phenomena. These storm chasers not only tracked severe weather, but actively sought out the most dangerous conditions possible. Add this to the report. Mexer suggested, their gaseous form turning a deep shade of purple. Humans have developed a subspecies that derives enjoyment from pursuing deadly atmospheric conditions. They call themselves meteorologists and weather enthusiasts. The storm intensified. The alien observers watched as university maintenance workers calmly went about their jobs, wearing simple water-resistant coverings. Students gathered in common areas, pressing themselves against windows to watch the lightning, treating the dangerous electrical discharges as entertainment. "My sensors must be malfunctioning," Vela announced. "I'm detecting disappointment from many of the humans. Apparently, the storm isn't severe enough for their liking." Not severe enough. Mexer's form rippled in disbelief. The wind speed alone would tear apart most galactic species. They monitored social media channels and found humans complaining that the awesome storm had been overhyped and expressing hope for more exciting weather next time. Their final report for the day included several urgent notes. Humans treat severe weather conditions as minor inconveniences, or more disturbingly, as entertainment opportunities. Their young gather in groups to observe dangerous phenomena, expressing disappointment when conditions aren't life-threatening enough. Most terrifying of all, they have developed a culture around pursuing and documenting deadly weather events. As the storm began to pass, they watched a group of students organize an impromptu puddle jumping contest in the quad. "Remember when we thought their sports were scary?" Vela asked. "At least sports have rules," Mexer replied. "These humans see a planetary scale threat and think it's playtime." Meanwhile, below them, the storm chasers were already planning their next expedition, hoping to find something more exciting than just a severe thunderstorm. Back in their secured research pod, Vela and Mexer began compiling their findings about humans. With each new data point they reviewed, their understanding of just how terrifying Earth's dominant species truly was grew deeper. "Let's organize our observations," Vela suggested, her crystalline form glowing softly as she projected their research notes. "We should start with their basic survival adaptations. Their endurance capabilities are impossible." Mexer began, their gaseous form swirling thoughtfully. "They can pursue prey until it collapses from exhaustion. No other known species hunts this way." The holographic display showed humans participating in marathons, ultra-endurance events, and persistence hunting. The aliens had discovered that humans could keep moving long after most species would have shut down. "And their healing abilities," Vela added, bringing up medical records. "They can recover from injuries that would be fatal to most species. Break a bone. They just put a cast on it and continue their daily activities. Major surgery. They're back at work within weeks. Don't forget their temperature adaptation," Mexer said, their form shuddering. "We've recorded humans surviving in conditions from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius. Some even swim in frozen lakes for fun." Their research revealed that humans had settled in nearly every hostile environment on their planet: scorching deserts, frozen tundras, high mountains with thin air, and deep valleys below sea level. Where most species would seek ideal conditions, humans seem to view harsh environments as challenges to overcome. But their most terrifying adaptation isn't physical, Vela noted, bringing up their psychological observations. It's their problem-solving ability combined with their complete disregard for what's supposed to be impossible. The display showed Sarah Chen's quantum detector project, alongside countless other examples of humans taking advanced concepts and recreating them with primitive materials. "They don't accept limitations," Mexer agreed, their gaseous form rippling with concern. "When faced with an impossible situation, they don't give up. They get creative. Remember the history files about their space program?" Vela's crystal structure flickered as she recalled the data. "They reached their moon using computers less powerful than our basic calculators. They didn't wait until they had the right technology. They just decided to go and figured it out along the way. Their compilation continued, each new entry more concerning than the last. Humans regularly consumed substances that would be lethal to most species. They treated survival situations as recreational activities. Their young were encouraged to take risks and test their limits. They viewed deadly weather as entertainment. Their response to discovering advanced technology was to try to replicate it with local materials. Most concerning of all, Vila added, is their adaptability. Humans don't just survive in hostile conditions. They thrive in them. They get bored with safety and actively seek out challenges. Mexer brought up their latest statistical analysis. According to our calculations, the average human university student willingly engages in at least 3 activities daily that would be considered extreme survival situations on other worlds. As they finished their compilation, a notification popped up on their feed. Sarah Chen and her team had successfully created a working prototype of a basic cloaking device using parts from a local electronics store. Add one final note, Vela said, her crystal structure paling. Humans don't just survive on their Deathworld. They've mastered it so completely that they now seek out new challenges to overcome. Their favorite phrase appears to be, "Hold my beer and watch this." Their report was nearly complete, but one question remained. Was the galaxy ready for a species that treated survival as a hobby? The main lecture hall of the Galactic Academy of Xenanthropology was packed, not just with students, but with faculty members, military advisors, and even a representative from the Galactic Council. Word had spread about Vila and Mexer's research on humans, and everyone wanted to hear their final presentation. Professor Zix 427's tentacles were a pale blue with nervousness as they introduced the students. Before they begin, I should warn you. Some of this information might be disturbing. Vela's crystalline form sparkled under the presentation lights as she began. Our research on humans has led us to a startling conclusion. We've been wrong about Earth. It's not just a death world. It's the death world that created a species so adaptable that they turned survival into a recreational activity. The audience murmured as Mexer displayed their first evidence, videos of humans participating in activities called extreme sports. These humans, Mexer explained, their gaseous forms steady with confidence, are jumping out of perfectly functioning aircraft for entertainment. They call it skydiving. Several audience members activated their emergency shields in shock. But that's not the most terrifying part, Vela continued. When humans encounter something that should kill them, they don't just survive. They try to understand it, replicate it, and if possible, turn it into a hobby. Their presentation showed Sarah Chen's quantum detector project. The Galactic Council representatives' color patterns shifted to indicate severe distress when they learned how quickly humans could reverse engineer advanced technology. Their physical capabilities are equally concerning, Mexer added. They can heal from injuries that would be fatal to most species, survive in temperature ranges that shouldn't be possible, and their endurance capabilities seem to have no upper limit. The display showed humans running marathons, swimming in Arctic waters, and living in environments ranging from deserts to mountain peaks. And their response to toxic substances, Vela chimed in. They don't just tolerate them, they turn them into beverages and condiments. They actively breed their food to be more toxic because they enjoy the sensation. Several faculty members had to leave the room when they showed footage of hot sauce eating competitions. As they reached their conclusion, Vela's crystal structure glowed with intensity. But here's what we believe is most important. Humans aren't hostile. Despite evolving on a death world, despite having capabilities that terrify us, they're mostly friendly and curious. They're not aggressive unless threatened, Mexer added, but their definition of a threat is very different from ours. To them, most things we consider deadly are just interesting puzzles to solve. The lecture hall was silent as they reached their final point. We recommend updating the galactic database, Vela announced. Earth shouldn't be classified as a death world because it's dangerous. It should be classified as a Deathworld because it created a species that views death-defying acts as weekend entertainment. Professor 6427's tentacles had turned almost white. Any questions? A military advisor raised an appendage. Are you suggesting we should fear these humans? Mexer's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully before responding. No, we should be grateful they're friendly, because they've proven repeatedly that nothing in their environment can stop them. They just turn obstacles into opportunities. As the presentation ended, the Galactic Council immediately classified the research as required reading for all species planning contact with humans. They added a warning label. Caution. Contains disturbing accounts of human recreational activities. Back on Earth, Sarah Chen and her friends were planning their weekend. They were going to test their homemade cloaking device while skydiving. They figured it would be more fun that way. Vila and Mexer's research became the most cited paper in xenoanthropology history, with one simple conclusion. Humans don't survive their death world. They conquered it so thoroughly that they had to invent new ways to challenge themselves.